This week on iRacing, prepare yourselves for eargasms, a 24-hour race with one of the craziest forecasts for rain I have ever seen, and many GT4s will be heading to heaven this week as they will be yeeted into a meatball by LMP3s. Hello everybody and welcome to This Week on iRacing episode 2, the series that gives you all the information that you will need for the new upcoming races on iRacing for that week. And oh my goodness, do we have an awesome week this week with one of the craziest 24-hour races you're probably going to see so far since the rain was introduced. So let's crack on with the video and let's talk about that first race, shall we? That 24-hour this weekend. So this week, we see the return of the 24-hour series on iRacing called the Global Endurance Conspit Tour, and it is at Daytona, and it's all the IMSA classes, so like your LMPs and GTPs and GT3s, all that kind of stuff, but 91% chance of rain. And if we have a look at this forecast and you click on the clouds and precipitation, my goodness me, look at this. Look at this. It is mental. Look at the potential for rain for the whole race. There's only like a gap between 4 a.m. And 10 a.m. where it doesn't rain. Crazy. So expect this race to start about 10 to 4, maybe a bit of quality about maybe 10 past 4. You can see earlier on in the day, the chance of precipitation was like 75%. So I believe in this 24-hour race this weekend, I think it's going to start in the wet. Real high chance of qualifying being in the wet and the rain basically just stopping as the race starts, but then there's a real chance that it comes back again just an hour after the race starts, and then it just kind of disappears slightly, dissipates as the race goes on, and then in the last 4, 5, 6 hours it starts to come back, and it comes back with a vengeance. At the end of the race, the last 3, 4 hours, it's basically going to rain. It is going to rain. So the last 4 hours of the race are going to be very sketchy. It's going to be very interesting in terms of strategy, how people will survive this one. But yeah, it's looking like it's going to be so much fun. Ever since iRacing introduced this weather system, this is the kind of weather I've wanted to see in a 24-hour race. We've seen what the 24-hour races have been like this year. They're basically every single race seems to have had one. So I'm really looking forward to partaking in a race like this where just the weather conditions are constantly changing. It's going to be amazing. Strategies are going to be all over the place. Highly recommend if you've got the chance to do this race this weekend. If you look at the schedule, basically the slots to do it either 8 a.m. BST on the Saturday or 7 p.m. BST on Saturday evening. Those are the two slots. Don't worry about Sunday. No one's going to race from Sunday to Monday. But yeah, try and get a team involved for this weekend because it's going to be a lot of fun. I guarantee you, if you do it, you're going to absolutely love it. All right, moving on to the next series then. Let's talk about IMSA Open and IMSA Fixed, which, of course, again, is at Daytona. That's just to kind of facilitate for the endurance race this weekend so people can get the practice in. Unfortunately, no rain for this one, so do not expect any rain in either the Open or the Fixed. Open is, of course, 45 minutes. And Fixed is 35 minutes in length. I don't think there's any real strategy to either of the races. There's no fuel saving strat that I think you can do. GT3-wise, the car to pick is, without a doubt, the Mercedes. I thought last week it was going to be the Porsche, but ever since the GT3s have just kind of changed, like with their I think the tyre compound being harder and now Daytona having 3D curbs, the Merc is just an absolute monster in a straight line. GT3, go Merc. Otherwise, it's an uphill battle. LMP2, of course, LMP2. GTPs, you're probably looking at the Acura, but again, since the changes this season, you may be able to try another car, but I'm not quite sure. I think it's going to be the Acura, but you know, maybe the Caddy or the Porsche might have a go at it. I think if there's going to be another car that does have a chance, it'll probably be the Porsche. So yeah, no rain. Merc for GT3, LMP2, GTP, Acura, and track temperature, expect around 50 degrees. It is going to be very hot. Okay, next up is the GT Sprint series on iRacing, and we're going to be heading to Misano. Now, Misano was on the LMP3 and GT4 calendar for the week that has just gone by, and essentially this is almost like a copy and paste. So it is GT3s, so it's the GT Sprint series with the GT3 cars at Misano with the same percentage chance of rain, which is 89% chance of rain. So expect this to be a very, very wet race. Probably the car to go in is going to be the Audi. The Audi seems to be super strong in the rain. Some alternatives you could use is a Porsche, and then maybe next up is a Ferrari. Try to avoid anything that has an engine at the front. Mustang and Mercedes especially, they won't be very good here at all. So I would highly recommend trying to pick something like the Audi, the Porsche, or the Ferrari. They'd be your best bets for this week if you're going to do the GT Sprint or the GT3 Fixed. And I think the GT3 Fixed actually has no chance of rain. So if you want to do this track with no rain, GT3 Fixed is probably the way to go. Okay, next up on the list is the Falcon Sports Car Challenge / the GT4 Fixed. We are heading to the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Now, I absolutely love this track, but my goodness me, multi-class wise, it is carnage. Now, I love carnage, as you boys and girls probably know. Multi-class racing is the one for me, and I absolutely love it. I love this track. I love the idea of racing LMP3s and GT4s together here, but do be prepared. If you are in a GT4, the chance of death is very high indeed. Very high indeed. So again, I would recommend you go in the LMP3 for this multi-class race. The GT4 Fixed, that's more down to your preference and your style of driving, really. I can't really comment too much on GT4s because I don't drive them that often. But yeah, if you're going to do the multi-class race, I would recommend you go in the LMP3. No chance of rain in either of these races. So the multi-class race and GT4 Fixed, there's no rain in either of those. So you don't have to worry about that. Track temp, expect around 30 to 40 degrees. All about if it's going to be sunny that day or if it's going to be partly cloudy. But yeah, expect around 30 to 40 degrees track temp. But I really, really like the idea of this combo. How popular it might be, though, I'm not really sure. Sometimes this track could be really popular. Sometimes it can absolutely be just dead. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this series this week will be popular. Alrighty then, time for the last series that we are going to cover in today's episode. And our surprise race, really, of the week is actually the GTE Sprint series, as is heading to Le Mans. Or as we all like to call it, Lemons these days. Yeah, so it is going to be the GT3s at Le Mans. Not much more really to say, to be honest with you. Fantastic kind of combination. Everyone enjoys driving GTEs at Le Mans, at least I think they do. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to listen to the Porsche go around this track at like 300 odd kph. I mean, what a shame, right? What a horrible, horrible thing to have to do. But I think the Porsche will probably be the go-to car for this one. Shout out to the Corvette as well and the Ferrari. I think the BMW will probably be a no-go. That thing has not been good in a very, very, very long time. Track temperature-wise, a little bit odd, this one. When I loaded it into the sim, I tried 3 or 4 times. It always ended up being like mid to high 20 degrees track temp, which I don't really understand because it's in July. It's in July and middle of July as well in France. So it doesn't really make much sense. So I'm going to say, you know, mid to high 20 degrees track temperature, but do not be surprised if when the actual race loads up or when the lobby actually appears on iRacing, if it's going to be like 40 to 50 degrees track temp. That is realistically what I expect it to be. But if, you know, maybe the sim I was test driving for this was correct, then maybe mid to high 20 degrees track temp, which I think we would all prefer, especially when these things don't have any ABS. That would be fantastic. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this week's episode. As always, any feedback for me, please let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments what series you're going to be racing this week and which one you're going to enjoy the most. But do have a lovely week, and I'll catch you next week for the next episode. But thanks very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one. Take care. Ta-da.